Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will show you controller action return types in .NET Core Web API. The first thing will come to mind like why you need action return types. So consider that you have a controller action method. This is a controller action method. This is one kind of the action method of this controller. What will happen is this controller action method can handle various responses that can handle various responses. This is one kind of response, so it can handle various responses based on or depends on your requirement. So each endpoint, this is an endpoint, so each endpoint can handle a different scenarios, and it will facilitate in how the response are sent back to your client, like how they want. Like, so for example, in this scenario you can see, right, if employee data has a data requested data, then it is returning okay of employee. This is one scenarios. If it is not found, this is another scenarios. Different scenarios based on your request. Once the data is processed in your endpoint, then it will respond back to a client. We can return a data from controller actions in a many different way. So there are different ways. The first type we can say as primitive response type. Another one is complex type. Then I action result set. For example, if I these are the response type we can use as a return types. One is primitive or complex type, action result t, and task of I action result. These two we'll use in asynchronous programming. So mainly we'll use this for, already I explained this, we used in previous example. So these are the types we can use. Now we'll see one by one. Let us see a primitive type and complex types. So before that, let's create a one controller here. Controller empty. I'll create as student controller. So this is a controller. So first thing is primitive types. Primitive type is nothing but it will return a basic data types. Like for example, the basic like integer, string, double, etc. So it will return primitive data types from action method. Let's see one example here. http get, then root. Consider that you have a API endpoint of all, then public string. I'm using a primitive type of string, get data, then I'll just simply return data here. Okay. Simple primitive types we can use like this also. Let's run. Okay, let's see employee student. Here if you see, if I try out, it will simply return data. We can use other different primitive type, string, integer, double, boolean. This is a one primitive type. What is complex type? So we can use, like for example, consider that you have a class. That class have a different properties. We can return those properties as an kind of a list, or employee as a type of an employee. For example, consider that you have, let's say, create one model, one class I'll create as student class I will create. Okay, let's keep id Then let's copy from here only. Employee, two are there right here. Just I'll keep ID and name. Okay, ID and name instead of GUID int I'll keep it. You can name. So here if I call the any endpoint, that instead of string, that employee data, the student data, it should reply, it should response. So create one more function, http get get details. Public, instead of string I'll use this student class. Student get details. So here I'll return student. So we have id equal to just 1, then name equal to, let's try test. Let's close this. Get details. If you try out and execute, you can see here I'm returning a student data. So this is complex types. This is a primitive and this is a complex type. Now here we saw a student data. If you want, you can pass list of student also. The list of employee data or student data, that also we can able to pass. This data, instead of this, you can pass list of student new student id equal to 1, name equal to test. Can pass multiple also. New student of id equal to 2 test. Okay, the list of student also we can pass. You can use I enumerable of also, both are list only. Instead of list also we can use I enumerable. Both it will give same data. So let's try this. If you execute, you can see it will give 2 records. If you use I enumerable also, it will give same record. Type is a I action result type, so it will provide a different HTTP responses. Okay, let's see. We'll use this one, get all data. Instead of this one, I'll use iAction result get all data. So here what I'll do is var list data equal to, so if consider that if data count greater than 0, then I'll return okay. These are different HTTP response. Okay. Else, if data is there, okay. Else, return not found. This is another response. So suppose I use try catch block here. Next. Consider that in this is anything internal or will fail in this try block, then also it should response with a different HTTP response. Here I will use status code of finder ex.message. So here I'll use finder. Finder is an internal server error because it is breaking in our logic. It could be anything, whether your server is not responding or it is a syntax error, something is breaking in this try method, then it will come to exception, it will throw exception, it will come to here also we need to respond back as return finder action. So this is, we call it as an iAction result return types with a different responses based on scenarios. So third one, the return type is called action result of T. If you see here only I'll show you, instead of I result, I'll use I action result of T. Normally this is one, that T is a type. That type, it could be your basic data type like integer string, that also you can able to return, or it will be a complex type like employee, student, or also we can able to return as list of data also. Suppose if I want to pass list of, see here this list of student is that this I want to return a specific type. So this action result type, it's mainly right, so it will respond with a as different HTTP response along with a specific type. Okay, let's run this. Get all student, get all data. Okay, see this one, the list of data. One is a task of action result type and task of I action results. So this task is normally we used for asynchronous programming. So whenever your action method will do asynchronous programming or operation, then we'll use a task. Let's see here only I'll change. So if I use task of this, these are async, so async of task, so it will say await method. So if you use async, then await is there. So here I'll what try to add is await of await await task dot delay of, so here time span dot from second 1 second, I'll just 1 second I will delay, then I'll execute this, I'll return this. So whenever you use these your controller action methods in asynchronous operations, for that we'll use async task. Similarly, action result is there. We can use I action results of also. Get all endpoint. We are returning OK of list of employees. If you run and see this, if you come here, you see get all, you can see here code of and success. Okay, so here there is no a point of returning any data, specific data, so that we cannot able to understand what this get all function is doing. For that, .NET Core, it will provide a response produce types. What these response produce types will do is that it will specify the type of response and the status code for that particular action controller can respond. For example, here, let's stop this. Let's add produce a response type of status codes dot. So status code, we are returning status code 200 OK. 200 OK, what should be displayed? Of type equal to type of, here this should be list of student. So 200 OK, that should be a list of student. Suppose there is one more return we are doing, not found. For although we can use same thing, produce status code of, here status code of not found, 404 not found. Then one more status code you are using 500. Can use status code of status 500 internal. So it's saying that it will specifies a response type. These are the response type we are producing with a status code of respective thing. So if you run this and if you see this get all method, student get all, see here you can see earlier it is only 200 success. Now you can see, so 200 success is the list of employee and 404 is not found, there is no message. 500 is a server error. These are the, so that as a developer we can able to identify that based on response type what is the data which they are expecting or returning. So for that reason we'll use produce response types. Status codes in .NET Core, as you see in the previous example, we are responding whatever the request we receive to this action controller. Based on scenario, we will respond back to that requested data. So this is a response, like okay, we are responding based on the scenarios. Okay, so there are different status codes are available here. For example, first we call it as a 2xx. Okay, 2xx. Okay, 4xx, 5xx. Okay, there are also 1xx and 3xx. Majorly we use these type of status codes. So here 2xx means we can respond as 200. So 200 means what? We are already responding okay. So means whatever the request we are receiving, that is success. So that is 200 status code. Then you can pass 204. 204 means here instead of okay, I'll pass 204. 204 is no content. We are not displaying. Here we can see in 200 we are responding with the data. Here they don't want data. So now we can directly just pass no content. So there is no data for this, no content. Similarly, we have 201. 201 is, we call it as a created. So created means whatever the request we received, we creating a new resources in our end. So it's mainly used for post. So we are saying that whatever the request we received, we created from our end. For that scenario, we'll respond with a 201. We created from our end. Similarly, we have 202. 202 is accept. The status code is means accept. Accept means we received your request, but immediately we are not processing. We'll process in the later also. So these are the status code based on scenario we can use. So here in 4x also we can see 404 already we saw here. 404 not found. This is a 404. Okay, 404 not found means we don't have records. There is no record for this. That time you have to respond not found. That status code is 404. So there is one more called 400. 400 means it's a bad request. Bad request means we cannot process further. So there is some client error. Either maybe it is like a syntax error or some parameter missing. So in that kind of scenarios, we'll respond as a 400 bad request. So here if you see here, it can directly pass as a bad request. So based on scenario, we can pass it. There is one more. There is a 401 is there. 401 is the unauthorized. Means consider that you have action method. That method is expecting authentication user or authentication user. It means that user don't have authentication to process further. So in that scenario, 401 is there. So it's not authorized for you. Then we have 403. 403 also there is one status code. 403 means it's a forbidden. Forbidden means the authentication you have, but due to lack of permission we cannot able to process. So in that scenario, the 403 status code we can able to that it's forbidden for you because of permission you don't have to authenticate that action method. The 5xs for the first one is 500. 500 is a internal server error. As we see here, I am using 500 internal server error. It's nothing but these are server errors where it's very failed to fill your request. So consider that you're getting any some unexpected conditions encountered. In that kind of scenario, we can display 500. So here you see if anything fails in the try blank, then we are displaying a 500. These are server errors. So next one, now we'll see 502. 502 is a bad gateway. So bad gateway is nothing but it's a communication error between two servers. Consider that you are getting an invalid response from your host. Consider that we have a backend, in middle we have a gateway, and the client is calling gateway from gateway to backend server. That backend, if you give invalid response to gateway, then gateway what you will do, it will respond back as a 502 saying that bad gateway. So that is 502 it will display. Then if you see 504 is there. So 504 is a gateway timeout. Gateway timeout is nothing but, so server whatever you are requesting, that is not getting any response. It means you are requesting to the backend, but it's not responding back within a time, a specific time. For example, consider that you have 10 second you are setting as a response time. Within that 10 second, if you not get, in that scenario, the 504 a bad gateway timeout, the error will be displayed. That is 504. Now we have 503. There is one more 503, service unavailable. The name itself suggests that service whatever you are requesting, it's not try to handle whatever the request, because consider that you are requesting to a backend server or your host, that is either server is down or under the maintenance. In that time you are requesting, so that scenario it will give 503 saying that service whatever you are requesting, it is unavailable. It's it for now. Please like, comment, subscribe for more content. See you soon on next video. Thank you.